All right, Leo, welcome to your weekly Sidereal astrology forecast. This is for the 19th of October through the 25th. My name is Athen. So this week we're entering into it in the first quarter phase of the lunar cycle, which is about action and moving forward with a lot of these new beginnings that came to us last week. And in the following week of this week, we're going to have the full moon. So it's really in between both phases. And in that way, there's this sort of increasing of energy this week. And it's a good time to continuously improve on the material security aspects of life, which has been this new moon in Virgo in your second house. So when it comes to the finances, when it comes to the assets, or the material stuff, or those simple pleasures, continuing to be grateful for that. And at the same time, it's a great time for you to cultivate that continuously, and maybe even, I think, naturally be focused on that. So that's what the general gist of the week is symbolizing, and there could be some culminations next week in regards to that. But right here on Monday, Mars is going to be still conjoining up to Jupiter, so there is plenty of expansion and good fortune when it comes to your adventurous spirits. Jupiter's been in your first house, expanding there. He's going to be there for about the next year. So plenty of room to grow, plenty of room to stretch your arms and have that free-spirited energy. And Mars is involving your home and family, as well as the adventurous, perhaps travel or philosophical aspects of life. So good opportunities there with those things, perhaps, as there has been, and that'll be continuing this early part of this week. Then Wednesday through about Saturday, Mars is going to be opposing up to Chiron. So there is this healing energy taking place for you, maybe likely having to do with your identity, which is all in your first house here, but also involving that home and family stuff, and even the traveling stuff or the philosophical stuff. So I recommend, continuing to put energy into those things with Mars here in your first house. And naturally through that, you'll find the healing taking place in those areas. And really remembering that this is all about a balance between your first house and your seventh house, like I've been saying. And when you really see that, we're not all very different from each other, and we do share a lot of the same goals. And what is really good for you is what's good for the other person, and what's really good for the other person is what's also good for you. And I mean that in terms of in the sense that not everything that's good for you is good for someone else, but when it is actually good for you, it is good for the other. So it's seeing that sort of balance there, and naturally through that, there is a healing taking place. Could be certainly with you, your self-image, and that sort of first house stuff, but even your one-on-one connections this middle to later part of the week. Now with that, Mercury is going to be squaring up to Pluto, and Venus is going to be trining up to Pluto. So Pluto's sort of this dual player this week, trining up to Venus, is suggesting that there is good, positive change to you. Again, maybe that self-image, maybe your goals. It's a great week to continue with those kinds of things, and maybe some nice positive changes happening with your career front, and with your communications as well, since Venus rules both your 10th and your third house. So very nice there for those areas. Now in terms of all these new beginnings with the more material financial stuff, Mercury is going to be squaring up to Pluto. So do bring that extra attention here to the material financial stuff. Again, maybe there's something that needs to be changed, or a line drawn in the sand in regards to that. And as long as it's coming from compassion, or it's coming from that centered place, then it is a good time to make change there. And non-attachment, I feel like, in the material aspects of life will be particularly important, especially because on Sunday, Mercury will be opposing up to Uranus, suggesting the balance of seeing how it's so important to have that 8th house non-attachment and more of the non-material perspective of your values, financial or otherwise, and seeing what it is that you're really grateful for, seeing what it is that is really meaningful to you in the earthly side of things, and through that there's this balance. And watching any rash decisions this week too, involving the material financial stuff, I think will be very important for you guys. And that's also involving anything involving friends or groups, keeping everything balanced with that, also balanced with your ideals and visions, especially towards the weekend. Now also over the weekend, we do have Venus conjoining up to Jupiter, so there is continued expansion again in your first house here, specifically involving that career and that communication, which could be expanding quite well this weekend going into next week. All right, Leo, so have a great one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.